welcome to episode, I think it's 50? Are we at episode 50 already? I should have totally looked that up before. But anyways, welcome to the latest episode of the Making Stories podcast. I am so glad that you're here. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me. I'm Hannah-Lisa, the host for today and always. And if you are new, I am so glad that you found this corner of the internet. I hope you like what you see. And if you're returning, a very warm welcome back. This is a space where I talk about all things knitting, mostly in the Making Stories context. So aka what is on my needles, but also what is in our shop and what we have planned for you. We'll start as always with the knitting. Before we get into that though, a little note to my surroundings, which you might have noticed have changed. Also, my t-shirt is doing weird things. So I'm still trying to find a really good new spot to record the podcast. The sort of setting will likely shift and evolve over the next few episodes. The reason for this is that the corner of our bedroom where I previously recorded the podcast is no longer home to my beloved podcast chair, because we got a bed. Yay! So in the last I don't think I actually shared that in the last podcast episode. I might have. Sorry if you're here for like random life stuff, which I promise, like, it relates to the podcast and the setting, which is why I'm sharing this. So we have lived without a bed for the better part of the last 4 years, I want to say. The reason for that is that we wanted to have a family bed when our toddler, well, back then newborn baby joined us, and we had read up on things and thought that the best solution for us would be a mattress on the floor, which was great, and it somehow stayed a mattress on the floor for 4 years. So yeah, we don't have a mattress on the floor anymore. We have a proper bed again. Yay! And it's awesome. It's super cool. It's 100% wool fabric. I am very much in love. It also is too big for us to keep this chair and my podcast corner in our bedroom, which is why I am in our studio space / workspace, which is also our guest room. And it's an awesome room, but we've not been super duper happy with it. So we've shifted things around a little bit, sort of moved where we have our work desk and stuff. And we're going to do some things like replace those curtains and thingy. So yeah, there's going to be changes to this corner as well. I actually quite like it. I'm thinking we want to have white curtains. So I'm thinking as soon as we have white curtains, it's going to be even better because it's going to be sort of like a little studio corner actually, where I can just put like maybe a little side table here when I record or something. So yeah, anyways, that's what I'm currently concerned with. The other thing that I am concerned with is, but I do think it's recording, because my laptop is not charging at the moment, which I do not know why that is. Slightly concerned that the camera is not charging, but oh hey, we'll roll with it. As long as this says it's recording, it's probably recording. So, let's talk about knitting, because that's what you're here for, not the random, hey, we have a bed, hey, we have a new podcast corner, hey, I don't know whether my equipment is working correctly stuff, which also you get when you're here with me on the internet, but you know that by now. So I have brought my bag of works in progress here, but what I want to talk about first is this baby. Yeah, you folks, my blossom tee is done. I'm gonna get up so that you can see it in all its beauty. Turn around. This is the back without wrinkles. Here's the other side. I love it. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. And I can't believe how quickly I finished this. Truth be told. Because I actually, when I last recorded, had just about started the front piece. I think it was like maybe here. So like a couple centimeters above the hem. And then for some reason, recording that podcast episode just kickstarted my obsession to finish this project. And you know how that goes, you know, when you actually really work on something, you get it done. Yay, surprise. So that is what I mostly worked on during the first week of the last 2 weeks. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the process and like do a recap of the project, because that's what I like to do when I have finished something. So just sort of picking up where I left off in the last podcast episode, where I just worked a tiny little bit above the hem. The rest of this was mostly smooth sailing, except for the part where David and I binge watched Night Agent, which is a terrible show as far as it comes to acting, but really, like, you kind of just want to get to the next episode. I could have done without a lot of the dialogues, honestly, but yeah, I don't know, we kind of got sucked in, and so we binge watched it, and I thought I had remembered / counted correctly, at which point I needed to add the stitches for the sleeves to the body. And I thought this was after 4 repeats of that lace pattern that you can see there. At some point, I pulled out the back piece just to see whether I was on track, and it turned out that I had knit, I think it got 6 or 7 centimeters, which is about 2 inches, 2.5 inches even, longer than I should have, which I was a bit mad at myself for a second, but only for a second. Stuff like that happens. It's fine. Like it just does happen. So yeah. What I did was sorry that I keep doing this. I'm just sort of trying to keep the laptop from going into sleep mode. So what I did was instead of just stripping back, because I was a little bit worried that I would miss some of the yarn overs in the lace, I took a second needle and kind of did like a reverse lifeline thing. So I basically picked up the stitches in the row where I knew that I needed to rip back to, so that I had all of those stitches on the needles, and then I ripped back, which was not complicated at all. And with this yarn, it actually worked out really, really well. And after that, it was pretty smooth sailing. What I will say, and I'm not entirely sure, sorry, I'm just trying to like kind of find, yeah. So what I will say is that for some mysterious to me reason, the number of rows that I did for the front piece, starting from the armholes up, is different from the number of rows that I did for the back piece. And the only explanation I have for that is there's a portion of the back piece where you don't do any shaping yet, which you can work as a number of rows or to a certain length. And if I remember correctly, I worked it to a certain length instead of the number of rows. So I think that must account for the difference. When I noticed that, I was already like almost done with the front shaping. So I was like, it's fine. I'll just finish it and I'll see. The worst thing that can happen is that the shoulder seam and arm seam, sleeve seam, is actually set a little bit to the back, which is what happened, but I actually don't hate it. Like, I think it's fine. So I love it very much as is. Okay, let's do project roundup. So the Blossom t-shirt is a pattern from our latest issue 9, which sadly we don't have in stock anymore as print. I know that some stockists still have a couple of copies. You can always get the digital version. And the pattern is by the fabulous Ayano Tanaka, who we worked with in the past. She's a great designer, and it was super fun to knit, and I think I'm gonna just wear the heck out of this. I highly, highly recommend it. As far as sizing goes, I did a gauge swatch, and I couldn't get gauge for the life of me. So I went down to a 3.25 millimeter needle size. The pattern originally calls for a 3.5 millimeter needle size. So I didn't even go down, that much, but I was off gauge. Like I don't even know, like my phone's over there and I have my gauge information on my phone, but I was so far off gauge that if I had been on gauge, I would have knit myself a size 4. As it were, with the gauge that I was knitting at, I knit a size 1, so to the stitch counts of the size 1 to achieve the measurements of a size 4. So what you're seeing here in terms of the fit is a size 4 on, I have a 98 centimeter bust circumference. But in terms of sort of the pattern placement and stuff is a size 1. That's something that I do very, very often, because to me, what matters more than achieving perfect gauge, at least when I'm not, testing something, is that I actually create a fabric that I really like. And that is one of the differences, that this, this fabric that I created is a little more drapey than the fabric of the original sample. Which is actually something that I really enjoy. Like, I really love the drape of this yarn, and I was really happy with the fabric in my swatch, and that's why I swatch. Like, I don't swatch because I want to get perfect gauge. I swatch because I want to understand whether I like the fabric that I'll be creating, and if I don't, then I just swatch with a different needle size, and then take a look at the sizing and the stitch counts and work out which size at the gauge that I like I need to knit at to get the measurements that I need. Which might sound a little bit complicated. It's not though. Like, if you want me to go into this a bit more in detail, like, I don't know, maybe in a separate video, do leave a comment down below and I'll gladly record one, because I think it's one of the coolest things about knitting. Like, we just create clothes that we love, and I think part of that is sort of figuring out how to make sizing of an existing pattern work best for you. So that's what I did in terms of sizing. As I said, I worked the entire piece on 3.25 millimeter needles, except for the neckline, which I worked on 2.75 millimeter needles, trusted Chagu metal ones. The pattern, the design is knit in pieces. So you start with a back piece, and then you knit the back piece, you knit the front piece. You do a 3 needle bind off at the shoulders, and then you seam the sides using mattress stitch. And at the end, you pick up the neckline and knit the neckline. So there's no picking up sleeve stitches because it's a drop shoulder t-shirt. And the way that it's constructed is when you've knit the back or the front piece, and you come to the armhole, then you just add a few stitches on each side that will then later on become these cute little sleeves. And the pattern on the sleeves, also the cute little lace pattern here, that's just worked entirely while you work the back and the front piece. The pattern has two different lace patterns. So it has the hem pattern, which is, hello, focus please, camera. Camera does not, yeah. So it has a hem pattern, which is also what's worked on the sleeves and on the neckline. And it has these really cool lace panels running down the side, at the front, and at the back. And the rest is soothing stockinette. And that's actually a fantastic combination, I find, because it's intricate, but not super fuzzy. It is I just love it. I think it's super beautiful if you have a bit of delicate lace with really nice stockinette. As no surprise, as you won't be surprised when you see what I'm currently knitting and what I'll be knitting in the future, because they all have these things. But this was such a fun knit. It was such a fun knit. There is no shaping to this whatsoever until you come to the point where you do the neck shaping for the back and the front shaping. And that was also it's super well explained. I thought the pattern was extremely well written, and I'm not saying that because we published it, but Ayano is impeccable when it comes to her pattern writing, and this is just very, very clear, and it very clearly explains what you need to be doing. The lace is, I find, really intuitive. It's very rhythmic, to a point where if you are, I would say, comfortable with reading your knitting, you probably won't even need to look at the chart anymore after you've done a repeat or 1.5 repeats. The lace is worked on the right and on the wrong side, which I've never had a problem with, honestly. I know that some folks don't like it. I don't think it's a big deal at all. The only modification that I made to the lace on the wrong side was that it has you work a slip purl for one of the decreases, and that for the life of me, I could just never get that to look right. So the same as on the right side. So I just purl two together through the back loop. Other than that, no modifications whatsoever at all to the pattern. It was a super, super enjoyable knit. I also really like that it didn't have a ton of finishing. The 3-needle bind I did over an afternoon. I think I did that on the balcony. The mattress stitch sides, they took a lot longer, but it was fine. David was building up an addition to our barbecue, and I was sitting on the sofa seaming. It's very cliche, isn't it? And we were just chatting one night, so that was fine. And I really, really like the neckline detail. I think it's beautiful. I especially I hope that's going to show up okay. I especially like that cute center decrease. And I couldn't really get the math straight in my head. I was just you just trust the pattern, and it works out perfectly that it creates this really cute centered neckline afterwards. So yeah, very, very happy with this, and highly recommend it if you're in the market for, a light summer t-shirt. I would also highly recommend this yarn, which I'm just gonna grab a skein of that I have not broken into. So as I said, I knit this as a size 1 on a completely different gauge. So the yarn amounts that I'm about to tell you will be hugely off. So sorry about that. So I use just under 5.5 balls of the original yarn that the pattern calls for, which is Pascuali's Cumbria. Pascuali is a German yarn company, so there's also a yarn named Cumbria from the Fiber Co., which is also fantastic. This is not that. This is a different yarn company, Pascuali. And Cumbria is a blend of 60% Pima cotton and 40% bamboo viscose. It comes as a sport weight yarn, so it's 150 meters on 50 grams. And as I said, I ordered 8 and I still have 2.5 left over. So I used 5.5. And the colorway that I used is 323, which I believe is called Neptune. This really beautiful seal color. So yeah, I love this. I adore this. It was super fun to knit. I hope that it holds up well. I have never knit with a bamboo cotton blend before. It doesn't feel super delicate, but it definitely feels a lot softer and drapier than linen. And with linen, I'm not precious at all. I just throw it into the washing machine. If you've knit with viscose cotton blend, especially bamboo viscose before, can you let me know whether you also just throw that into the washing machine or what you do with it? Because, I mean, it's a summer top. It needs to be washed also because of the plant fibers more often than a wool sweater, because it doesn't have the nice antimicrobial, antibacterial, anti-smelly properties that much. So, yeah, I'd be grateful for any, advice you have on caring for this, because I want it to stay beautiful as long as it can. But also, I want to wear my knits, right? I also we did a big spring cleaning, or sensing a theme there, right? And we're in the middle of big spring cleaning stuff, and I did a big spring clean of my wardrobe. And I kid you not, I think I have 5 t-shirts left. That's it. And I still have a toddler, so I'm going through 1 t-shirt a day, because there's sand or mud, especially in the summer, or food over my t-shirt by the end of the day in 99.9% of the cases. So, I am wearing my knits and also probably gonna go shopping soon. Okay, cool. Let's move on to my works in progress. So I have been working on something really cute and fun that I haven't shown in my last podcast episode, simply because making a mess here. Simply because now my yarn's rolling everywhere. What is happening here? Simply because I hadn't worked on it. But after that, that kind of now I need to fix the lace and rip back moment, which I wanted to do in daylight, not while we were binge watching Night Agent. I was like, all right, what am I gonna work on now while we finish that series? And I pulled out my stripy socks. So this is a pair of, or it's going to be a pair of toe-up stripy socks that I'm knitting in Ovis Et Cetera Close, which is a wonderful natural sock yarn that's pretty new to the shop. That is also, apparently collecting dust from the, that is also currently, sad to say, all sold out. But we're getting a reorder probably mid of this month, so keep your eye out on your emails. If you want to get this, because it's really, really, really good stuff. It's really good. It's custom spun by John Arbin Textiles for Saskia, who is behind Ovis Et Cetera, and she dyes it in her signature beautiful muted earth colorways, and they're all so good. I am knitting with Plum, that's the darker one, and Clay, that's the lighter one. And I thought, would just be perfect for stripy socks. I am very much not following a pattern. I know that with the sock gauge that I knit at the moment, I need 56 stitches for a close fitting sock. And I also knew that I wanted something that I wanted to do an afterthought heel, not to disrupt the stripe pattern. But Afterthought heels don't fit me because I have a really high instep. So I I stole a trick from my lovely friend Claire, who's done a sock pattern with a mini gusset called Sommerblüten, the sock pattern. And so I've done a little mini gusset. So you can see that here, where it broadens a little bit. Just get up. So here you can see increases and decreases, and this is the lifeline for the Afterthought heel. So as you can see, I am working my way through the leg. I don't know yet. I think I'm gonna maybe work just as many straps as I currently have for the leg. I quite like, higher socks. So yeah. Maybe a little bit less, and then I'll do the ribbing and the heel. Oops, see, I'm just throwing yarn everywhere. In Plum, in the darker one. So yeah, super fun. And honestly, these are 2 skeins, right? Looks as if I haven't broken into them. So very, very happy about the yarn. Very happy about socks because I need more socks in my life. It's not as if I don't have any knit socks, but also that's exclusively what I wear during the colder months. So yeah. The next thing that I've been working on is my Grassland t-shirt, which is a pattern from our issue 6, which is also sold out in print, but available as a digital version. And this pattern is also available as a single PDF on our website. So if you like it, but you don't want to splurge for the full magazine, you can totally get that as a standalone. This is designed by Susan Schädler, originally for a very different yarn than the one that I'm using. I am using the Rerum Naturas Antigone, which is a delightful sport weight 100% linen yarn. And look how far I've gotten. Yay! Look how pretty this is. Ooh, this is gonna be so nice. Also I'm losing stitches here. Okay, let's fix that. So last time that I saw you, I had finished the back piece until the armhole. So I've actually done quite a bit of knitting because I've finished the front pieces, I've joined to knit in the round, and I've already knit probably an inch, so 2.5 centimeters in the round. This is really fun because this on paper is exactly the same thing as this, a drop shoulder t-shirt, but constructed in a completely different way, which is one of the things that I just love about knitting so much. You can just have so many different ways of accomplishing, different things, but also similar things, right? Blossom is constructed from the bottom up in pieces and then seamed. Grassland is constructed from the top down, seamless, knit in the round. And both are drop shoulder tees. What? So yeah. So basically a lot of the shaping that I did at the end of Blossom, when I got to the bit of the back that's up here and the bit of the front that's up here, is what you do for Grassland at the beginning. And the way that this is done is just so clever. So the back was pretty straightforward. And then you pick up stitches for the fronts, and you work a lot of short row shaping that just results in this really beautiful gentle shoulder slope, which I adore. And you do the same thing on the other side, and then you cast on the stitches for the center panel, and you join the fronts, the 2 fronts. You work a few centimeters in the front down in rows until you've reached the same length as the back piece, and then you join at the underarm and continue knitting in the round, which is where I'm at right now. So I think this is gonna be so pretty. I know that some of you will be like, but it's really see-through. Yes, I know. And when I'm finished with it, or close to finished with it, I'll tell you what I'm doing about it. I have a solution for that. I also don't mind that very much. But just be aware, like I am knitting Antigone at a pretty large gauge, which will result in an incredibly drapey, really cool, breezy t-shirt, but it's going to be a bit see-through. So yeah. Speaking of Antigone, we still have quite a few colors in stock. Not everything in like super big quantities, but for this, for example, I set aside 4 skeins or 4 balls, so 400 grams. The colorway that I'm knitting this in is called Marsala, which I think we're down to like 3 balls or something. But, you know, if you want to knit something else or a smaller size, I'm knitting this in a size 4, then you can totally still get the same colorway. Yeah. So the last thing that I want to talk about in terms of knitting are knitting plans. And I'm gonna sort of keep this one a little bit mysterious, but I want to show you something. Mysterious just because I'm not 100% clear on how much I can actually share with you just yet. But what I can say is we have 2 pattern collaborations coming up, or like promotional collaborations coming up, one in May and one in June that I'm really excited about. And for the one in June, I started swatching something in the latest yarn that we launched, which is Wool Dreamer's Saona, a beautiful, come on, focus, 50% cotton. Hello, doesn't want to focus. Okay, then we don't focus. 50% cotton, 50% wool blend from Wool Dreamers, a family-owned mill in Spain. The wool and the cotton both comes from Spain. The wool is a blend of Merino and Manchega wool, and the cotton comes from Andalucia. And it's a really, 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 really good yarn. And I started swatching with it. And I just adore how this looks. So it has, the colorway that I swatched with is called 1985, and it's a beautiful denim blue. So sort of like slight heather look with bits of white in it. And it feels great. Like it felt great on the needles. I didn't want to stop knitting with it. It feels great in the swatch. And I think I'm going to cast this thing on. I think I'm going to cast this thing on. The one thing that I'm noticing now that I'm looking at it on camera is that the lace pattern that you can see here doesn't show up super, super well, which I actually don't mind. I think it's going to be really pretty when you wear it, which is why I put it against this now, where you can't really see anything. But I think it's going to be really pretty when you wear it. So yeah. See, it's always the stockinette and lace combination that gets me, right? Okay. So this is my update on what I have on my needles, what's off my needles. Yeah. I'm going to take a look at my little helping bullet point sheet to talk a little bit about shop news. So as I said, we launched Wool Dreamer's Saona, our latest yarn, which is already almost sold out. So we have a lone skein or 2 left in some of the colors. I've placed a reorder, and that should be here this week or next week. So keep an eye out if you want to have that. That is, well, in the shop and also coming back to the shop. It's a delightful summer yarn. I definitely am gonna make that summer thing in it, and I also need a lighter colored cardigan, and there's a beautiful range of lighter neutrals, and so maybe I'm gonna make myself a cardigan in it as well. I think that would be really, really cool. We have also launched the pre-orders for our July sock boxes and sock skeins. I'm going to include a little picture of the inspiration here. So the theme is the theme is the sea for the July sock box, and we have some really, really, really amazing makers that are gonna work with us on it. Pre-orders close on May 16th. So you have about a week still to get your order in, and they will ship out at the beginning of June, which is also really, really soon. For our first year anniversary of the sock boxes that's coming up in October, we'll slightly revamp the sock box subscription program. I'll tell you more about that when, you know, the pre-order period for that is gonna open, which is also not gonna be too long. So yeah, stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, the July sock box is really, really, really cool. And I would really appreciate you placing an order for it. Last but not least, I actually can't remember whether I shared that or not, but I will be vending at a yarn festival this summer. I know. I'm really excited and also quite nervous. So I got invited by my lovely friend Ruta, who owns Woll in Berlin, one of the gorgeous yarn shops we have in Berlin here, to participate in Wedding Wool Weekend, which is, Wedding is the district of Berlin that Ruta's shop is located in. It's just a stone throw away from where I live. And it's a weekend filled with, you know, lovely things like workshops and a marketplace and a knit night. And I got invited, or we as Making Stories got invited to be part of the marketplace. I've been placing orders left, right, and center for things that will bring delightful things. Let me just say that. And I am so looking forward to it. If you are in Berlin, do come join us. You need to buy a ticket beforehand. I should also just say the date, right? It's July 14th to 16th. I think the marketplace is on the Friday and Saturday. I will also have a really special booth guest coming in from Hamburg. Very excited for that. Yeah. And you need to take it. Workshops are like really cool workshops. Sari Nordlund is coming. Then there's going to be some natural dyeing workshops, some mending workshops in Tarja. It's going to be really nice. And the vendor lineup is also really cool. It's a really nice mix of folks. And yeah, I can't wait to be there and hopefully see you. So if you are in Berlin, do come. If you are in Germany and, you know, want to travel, do that as well. So yeah, I'll pop the link in the down bar below so that you can check out everything. That was everything for me today. I hope that you are well. Thank you so much for joining me today, and take good care of yourself. I'll see you back here again in 2 weeks. Bye.